Hi, this is Danny Byrd for Computer Music, the drum and bass special. So I started off by giving all the parts by Computer Music, the chase and status beats, the logistics patches, and the sub-focus patches. So obviously, like the first thing I usually start off with most tracks is the drums. So I checked out the drums that Chase and Status did, which were wicked. So good, wicked drums. Love the sound of them, and they gave us a couple of different versions of them as well. There's a sort of shuffly type version as well, and some little edits here as well. So all those little things make going to be useful in the arrangement. And there's some little drum build-ups as well and stuff. The only thing that I didn't have was the individual kicks and snares. So actually, coming to mix this track down, it's not mixed as such really. I've just got it as balanced as I can. Because sometimes it sounds balanced in there, but when you put the music in there, you might want to put the ride cymbal a little bit higher in the mix. But it actually, on the whole, works really well. So I started off with the drums like that, and then I tried to get a little bit of a vibe on the track. Usually I like to start with a kind of not musical idea, but like a soundscape before I start putting any kind of bass sounds or lead lines. So I started off by playing this scary kind of chord on the ES2. Let's have a listen to that. Sounds a little bit like Adam S. Brand New Funk, I think it is, but that's just like a standard patch in the ES2 that kind of just LFOs away at the end of it. It's kind of LFO on the filter, which sounds nice. So I just played like a kind of, just this kind of scary chord like that, and that's kind of set the tone for the track really. That's the chord. And then I added another little high string over it just to add a bit of extra sheen to it. So this kind of set the vibe for it, and then I started to work on the bass over the top of this as well. Let's go back to the actual drop bit, and I've used the sub-focus patch, the Reese patch that he gave us. It was absolutely inspiring to work with. Straight away it sounds good out of the, as soon as you're playing the keyboard you're coming up with wicked little riffs. After a little bit of playing around, I just came up with this little riff here. I had to make sure that I clipped these little first bits nice and neatly, because where I was playing it in, just to keep it tight, you have to just make sure that they're clipped, because some of them were a little bit further over, and it kind of actually affects the rhythm quite a lot. So just to knock them back to keep them tight. And this little bit here I had to make longer so the glide captures it there, so it goes up. So I played that in over that, and then I felt that the beat needed a little extra bit of percussion over the top of it as well. So I got a conga from the Stylus remix, just a cymbal. Okay, so I got that from Stylus remix, but I added a just a valve, this nice little valve radio bit in the effects section. It just adds a nice little radio distortion type thing to it. So as it was before, and then then a bit of reverb on there just to make it sound a little bit bigger. You know, it just adds a little bit more interest to it. I think the drums are pretty much there. That's all I've added, really. Also with the Reese lead line, I just copied and pasted that part down to sine bass from the ES2 just for a bit of sub. Quite subtle, really. The actual Reese has a little bit of quite a lot of bottom end to it anyway, so I just left that as it was. I did try high passing it and then using the sine bass, but it sounded heavier with the two together. Sometimes it just works like that. So yeah, I started off with this, and then I had the two sections, so I had this kind of scary chord and then the drop, and I just proceeded to copy and paste and build the track up. So I started off with the intro, obviously that scary chord, and I had the chaser status beat filtered for the beginning, so I just had it like this. My favourite little fuzz wire over it. So just filtered in the background there. When I get an idea like that, I just keep on building stuff over the top of it to fill it out. So I've got some vocals from Computer Music Acapellas pack, I believe, that I've just effected, filtered twice, and it's got tape delay on it as well. Which I actually turned into an Apple loop as well, because it was out of tune, so you can see that I've actually transposed that up one just to fit the tune of it. It actually works nicely, just it's quite subtle in the background, just fills it out. Feels like there's lots of movement to the track. I've got a little explosion there that I usually have at the beginning of stuff just to signal the start of the track. A bit of tape delay on there. Then a bit of the percussion comes in as well. Now here as well, I wanted to make use of the other sub-focus patch, which is the lead line, which obviously you want to play some kind of riff on. So I came up with that, this little lick over the top of it. Just jamming over the top and came up with that. Now the drop as well, where I had the bass line, it wasn't actually kind of dropping right. It didn't seem to have as much impact until I actually cut out the beats. So I've actually cut out the first beat on the drop, so you hear just the bass or the Reese come through first. And that way it just catches your ear more, especially on the after the build-up as well. Sometimes things are well like that, like the arrangement is just like a big puzzle, and you know, as it was, you know, when you're listening to it, you think, oh, that makes perfect sense, and you know, it should have sounded like that. But you try a lot of different things to come to that conclusion sometimes, and as it was actually working, if I was just to go from that to that straight as it wasn't having the most impact. So it's kind of working out those bits of the puzzle. I've gone for a kind of standard drop here, and with this track as well, it took me about 2 or 3 hours to do. I didn't spend as much time as I would on, say, my own stuff. I just did a quick arrangement on it, so it is a kind of bread and butter standard arrangement. But I tried to either try and have the drop either on 33 bars or 65 bars, just to keep things nice and equal in the arrangement, so that for when you're DJing as well, you want to keep it simple like that. The intro needs to be a kind of equal amount, either 32 or 64 bars. So I've got the track obviously drops on bar 33 here, so I've got a little bit of a build up as well. So there I've got a build up that I've used from Reason, the subtractor, which I've just pitched up, that I've bounced into here. Like most stuff I do from Reason, I usually bounce it just because I don't like to have two programs open at once. It's nice to know you've got all the audio in the Logic project. So that sounded like that, and I've got like a little wind rise as well. So those two together create quite a lot of excitement. Then I've got this Chasing Status drum build up as well, just a kind of standard kick drum roll. And also as well on the actual lead line as well, I've repeated the first note, if you have a look here, and that creates quite a lot of the excitement as well. If you look there, you can see it. There's kind of like subtle little things like that, but they can all be part of the build-up. So moving on to the next section, so we've had the bass there, and just at the end of the 16 bars of our main section here, I've done a little edit on the end. That was useful from using some of the Chasing Status audio. It was nice to have all these different variations to use in the arrangement. And then I moved on to the next section. Like in my own arrangements, I like to have stuff happening and changing quite a lot. I always have this fear that the listener is getting bored, so I like to change stuff every 16 or 32 bars. So after having that initial big riff, I want to like calm it down with something else and then build it up again and chop and change like that. So I've taken out the Reese line and I've just kept the sine wave in and then brought back that original lead melody here. I've also used the shuffle beat from that Chasing Status have given me as well. So listen to that. It's almost just like a nice switch. It kind of goes, things go back to a little bit normality after the crazy drop. But then I've used the build up again, and I've used that little vocal repeat as well, which works nicely underneath it. So it just feels like little things like that, if you can add them over the top, it feels like it's not repeating itself over again. So you can actually get away, because like I said, I've only spent 2 or 3 hours on this. I've kind of done a little bit of a lazy arrangement, so to speak. So this part here has just been repeated 4 times, but adding layers that you've used earlier in the track, you can kind of get away with it. Right, so moving on to the next section. So I had to use some of the logistics patches as well, which he submitted to. And I tried to use the first one. There was kind of a synthy one that he'd used, a more synth-based type one, and I tried to use that in the intro, and it was working the intro, but it clashed with the drop the way it came in. It wasn't quite working. I've obviously got to try and fit 3 different people, 3 different producers' sounds in here, and I loved them all equally. I thought they were all good, but trying to fit them all in there became a bit of a nightmare. But the actual logistics sub, I managed to fit in here and switch it up. So if we have a listen to that solo to it. So that was just from the AN19, a resample that he'd done. This certain bass sound that Logistics has come up with works really nicely with it. It's one of those instantly as I started playing across the keyboard, same with the sub focus patches, instantly. It doesn't take you ages to work out what you're going to do with it. Sounds good out of the box. So I resampled that as audio into Logic again, just so I don't have to open two programs. So I played one little part and then I answered it with the sub-focus Reese again, so something like this. So it's like nice to have that little question and answer there. And again, I've got the vocal coming back in here just to fill it up a little bit. And I've kind of just gone for like a simple kind of outro here. I mean, this track is just about just over 2 minutes long. Of course, if you're doing a proper track, you want it to be around 5 or 6 minutes long. So this is probably where I would have gone to the second breakdown maybe. I'm just trying to calm things down. So I've reintroduced these strings, all the parts, and I haven't got anything crazy going on. Your brain tells you, or your ear tells you that it's kind of calming down, and you can build the track up again if you need to. I'll put my little boom at the end as well, just to signal the end of that. In terms of actual like mix down and stuff, I haven't done, like I said, I've just kept it as balanced as I can hear in this room. It might sound god awful in someone else's studio or out in a club, I don't know, because I don't generally mix down in this room, but I didn't have enough parts to actually, of the individual parts to attempt to mix down. So all I've done literally is put a limiter on the output, Logic's add limiter. The cheap version, no waves here unfortunately, just to get a little bit of volume on the track. You can see it's got more of a consistent level there if I turn the bypass on and turn it off. And also as well, just because I've got all these different sounds from different producers all trying to work together, and the fact that all the beats are just as one audio file, the actual limiting did kind of glue it together a little bit, so it's actually kind of worked well. I'll push it a little bit into the red as well, just sometimes you can't hear the distortion. I know you shouldn't go into the red, but into a little bit is fine. As long as you can't hear the distortion. This is generally what I would do if I was going to cut this onto a dub plate to play out, just keep the volume up. But if I was giving it to the mastering engineer, I'd probably ease back off the limiting. It's nice to work with other producers, if not in person, and definitely inspiring to see how different people